What is going on, guys? CrustyKs here from the Go Boys Network. Excited to talk to you guys about Week 5 college football. We're going to jump into the Thursday game, talk about a couple games on Friday, and then go over some Saturday games. I am beyond excited to talk about it, so let's get started. So this Thursday game, Army heading over to Temple. Army laying 13 points. This is an absurd spread. Never in my life did I think I would see Army laying 2 touchdowns, but here we are. For me, I like Army minus the 13. I sneakily like the over. I don't know if I'll get there, but I'm going to tell you guys why. So Temple against the run, 110th EPA per rush. So like one of the worst teams in the country. Army is top 5 in EPA per rush. So this is just a great spot for Army to just not only run the ball, but I mean, we're talking about like gashing runs. We're talking about, explosive plays, 20 plus yard runs, chunk plays, whatever you want to call it. I think they're going to score a lot quicker than people realize here. It's when you see an Service Academy team, they're possession-based teams. They're always in the bottom, 5 in tempo in college football. But when you're playing against a team like Temple, who literally cannot stop the run, I mean, a 50-yard touchdown run is not out of the question. A 60-yard touchdown run is not out of the question. So they're going to score quick. My reservations with the over are, I don't know if Temple is going to help at all or enough, because I see, like, for me, I think Army could probably give us like 35. That's what, if I had to guess, they're going to score 35 points. We need Temple to obviously make up, basically 2 touchdowns. Are they going to give us 2 touchdowns? I really don't know. So for me here, it's Army minus 13. I think they absolutely roll in this spot. Temple is a bad football team. I don't care how you want to slice it. They got absolutely rolled by, I believe it was Navy earlier in the season. They just won a shootout against Utah State. Woohoo. This is a brutal matchup, facing a Service Academy school on a short week. I think Army runs all over these boys, and I think Temple's in for a rough one. Moving on to Friday, Virginia Tech traveling to Miami. If you don't know, I'm a avid Miami backer this year. I have like a million preseason tickets on them to win the ACC, go to the playoffs, all kinds of stuff. I love this team, and they're playing extremely well. And it makes me extremely happy because when you make a preseason read like that, you obviously want to be right, or at least feel like you're right. And right now, I feel like I'm right. So this will be a tough test, though. You get a Virginia Tech team who definitely not living up to the preseason hype, but still a good football team. Drone's obviously dual threat. Teuton's kind of underwhelmed this season for sure. Had a nice game against Rutgers in their last one, but overall just hasn't looked like the guy who I think a lot of people expected. Defensively, this team, obviously, that was like their calling card, what they were supposed to be known for. And the defense has really struggled. And now you're going to face a Miami team with Cam Ward and just a ton of offensive weapons. This is a brutal matchup, in my opinion. This spread has gotten like insanely out of hand, though. It's up to 19.5 now, which is just incredible. I'd still lay it personally. I think that Miami can win this game by 3 TDs. So that's where I'm going to go. And it really boils down to this for me, right? So coming into the season, Virginia Tech was supposed, like I said, hang their hat on their defense. That defense that they're supposed to hang their hat on is allowing almost 5 yards per carry. You're going to see a Miami team who is like, I think, 4th nationally in yards per carry this season, like 6.5. Their offensive line's huge. They have Damon Martinez from Oregon State, who they haven't really had to even use yet. If you look at his numbers, he's only had like 15 carries in one game and been 11 or less in the other 3 because they've just won comfortably. They haven't even had to put him out there. So this will be a game where Damon Martinez likely sees, a closer to normal workload. I imagine like 15 carries, and I think he goes nuts. And then plus you got to worry about Cam Ward and this receiving core. I mean, this offense can beat you in so many ways. And then you look at the Miami defense. They shut out USF in the second half of that game after everybody was all worried about Miami losing that game to USF. I believe they scored, it was a 28-0 in the second half. This team is good. And I think that against Virginia Tech, conference game, a lot of people probably, wanting to back Tech, with Tech coming off of the almost win over Rutgers where they were losing. They came back, ended up losing the game. But for me here on a short week, having to go to Miami, this is a brutal spot. So give me Miami minus 19.5. I think they win this one in a big way.
Wait, before we get back to the picks, I wanted to thank you all for watching. Friends don't let friends watch videos without hitting the like button. So go ahead and press the thumbs up button and like the video. If you're new here and not subscribed, you should go ahead and do so because we're dropping new content each and every day on the Gold Boys Network. We strive to cover every sport and give out picks and analysis and valuable information for free on the Gold Boys Network. So make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell so you can get notified when we drop something new. I'm Brad Thomas. Let's get back to the picks.
The second Friday game here, Washington traveling to Rutgers. So this will be like their first true road test in the Big Ten for Washington. This team's impressed me though. So far this season, they are top 30 in yards per play allowed, which is awesome. This defense is playing really well. More importantly, against the rush, they're top 10 in yards per carry allowed, which is huge against this Rutgers team that likes to run the football. Flip side, Rutgers defense, extremely underwhelming this season, 128th in yards per carry allowed. They've been absolutely brutal. I think Washington finds a ton of success here on the ground, even more so with Washington. When you look at them, this will be like the first real like passing team, like a true quarterback that Rutgers is going to see with Will Johnson. So, Will Johnson? Did I say the wrong name? Will Rogers. I just mixed Max Johnson and Will Rogers together. Will Rogers, quarterback for Washington. Sorry about that. This will be like the first real passing attack that this team has seen, and I have a lot of concerns about this Rutgers secondary. So for me here, ultimately, I'm just taking Washington on the money line. I think they get this. I think they get the win. They're on the road, obviously. Going into Rutgers on a Friday night. I'm sure a lot of people are going to say the travel spot's brutal, whatever, yada yada. But for me, this Washington team is playing extremely well against Washington State. Although they lost, the defense looked really good. They absolutely dominated a bad Northwestern team. And I'm not going to say they dominate Rutgers, but I think that their offense presents a ton of mismatches for this Rutgers defense. And I will not be surprised if Washington wins this thing by a couple possessions, truthfully. So give me Washington on the money line here. As we move into Saturday, conference play has started. We have a ton of matchups. I'm not going to go over all of them because, this would be a 3-hour video, and I'm not sure anybody wants to sit through 3 hours of me yapping. The first one we'll talk about, let's go with Oklahoma State and Kansas State. So Oklahoma State coming off a disappointing loss to Utah. Kansas State coming off an embarrassing loss to BYU. If you talk to me in the Discord, if you talk to me on Twitter, if you talk to me anywhere, you would know that I was extremely high on BYU versus Kansas State because of the matchup. The BYU defense is extremely physical, which we saw. And if you force Avery Johnson to actually have to throw the ball, you find out that he's not very good. So this matchup, though, Kansas State back at home, facing Oklahoma State defense, who has been absolutely terrible against the run. One of the worst teams in the country against the run, to be exact. Now having to face DJ Giddens, Avery Johnson, the combination of that. This is the get-right spot for Kansas State. They'll be able to run their offense. They're going to be able to do what they want to do with Giddens, do what they want to do with Avery Johnson, run the little play action, dink and dunk stuff that Avery Johnson's good at, and not make him have to drop back 40 times. And I think Kansas State dominates this game. Ollie Gordon has not been good, and it's partially because teams have been stacking the box. It's also because this Oklahoma State offensive line is not generating any push. So if you've watched their games, their offensive line, I don't know what is going on, but they're not good. And if this game, like most other games, falls on the hands of Alex Bowman, I like Kansas State even more. So Kansas State right now at a -4.5. I'm all over it. I love it. I think they win this game big. Hey guys, I just want to give a quick reminder that new users can bet $5 at FanDuel on any of the bets in this video and win $150 in bonus bets if the bet wins. Now let's get back to the bets. Moving on to another big game here. Louisville traveling to South Bend, take on Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I like Notre Dame here -6. So for me here, Louisville is a good team. They have some talent at receiver. Ja'Cory Brooks, a guy from Alabama who I was pretty high on when he was at Bama. Had a really good game last game. Tyler Shaw, quarterback. I mean, he's no slouch. We're not going to say he's not. But this is just a brutal matchup in terms of the defense here. We know what Notre Dame's defense brings. This will obviously be the toughest matchup Louisville's seen to date, and it just feels like a rough one. Do I think that Notre Dame gets the offense going? I mean, not really, not a ton. Riley Leonard has been definitely underwhelming at quarterback for this Notre Dame team. But just looking at the matchup, looking at these two teams, the game likely does stay pretty low scoring in my opinion. But getting this under a touchdown here, getting the -6, I think Notre Dame wins this by a possession. They have the better running game. They have the Well, they don't have the better receivers, I won't say that. But they have the better quarterback, in my opinion, the better game manager, and just the better defense. I mean, we look at this Notre Dame defense, it's what they hang their hat on. I think Marcus Freeman will have these boys ready for this Louisville game. This is a big game for them, especially after dropping the game at NIU a few weeks ago. I mean, all these games are must win, and they're must win convincingly. So you get, number 15 Louisville coming into your building, you better have them ready. And Marcus Freeman, if there's one thing we know about him, he will have his guys ready. So look for this defense to dominate. Like I said, if you want to roll with the under, I think that's a great look as well. But, give me Notre Dame here -6, 20-10 final score. I'd go with that. So this next one, it's a game that probably isn't it's not like a marquee matchup by any means. It's a game I want to talk about because I think it's a great game to watch. It'll be a great game to bet on. Colorado traveling to UCF. UCF is laying a whopping 14.5 points. This spread to me is insane. And I'm not touching it. So for me here, like I said, laying 14.5 points, it's nuts to me because, yes, Colorado defensively isn't good, but if you watch UCF, their defense is terrible. So I think UCF runs all over Colorado. RJ Harvey, Penny Boone, KJ Jefferson, however you want it, they're going to probably have 350 plus on the ground. But on the flip side, I think Shedeur is going to absolutely shred this UCF secondary. This team has looked terrible against the pass. We saw what Josh Hoover did for TCU. Imagine Shedeur Sanders and this Colorado receiving core. Give me the over 63 here. This total to me is just low. I think this thing goes upwards of 70 points, 42-35, something of that nature. I think we're going to see big plays from both sides. You look at these two defenses, and like I said, UCF wants to run the football, and they're going to be able to. On the other side, Colorado, they want to throw the football, they're going to be able to. And we're going to see chunk plays all over the field. This thing has track meet written all over it, and I can't ignore it. You can set this total at whatever you want. I'm taking the over. Give me the over 63. All right. Next, we're going to talk about Ohio State traveling to Michigan State. Ohio State laying 24 points on the road. I'm laying it. So, Ohio State, we all know, Will Howard, Quinshon Judkins, Trevion Henderson. I mean, the list goes on. This team is loaded. They got brought in a ton from the portal. And Michigan State, they're a scrappy team. I'm not denying that. But this matchup is a nightmare for them. Their quarterback, Aiden Childs, however you say it. Turnover machine facing an Ohio State defense that is going to take the ball away. So this is a recipe for disaster. I would not be shocked if Michigan State doesn't score. 30-0, 35-0. I think there's a prop on FanDuel. I'm not on FanDuel right now. I'm looking at DraftKings. But I believe there's a prop where you can bet for a team to win by shutout. I would sprinkle that. This Ohio State team is a dominant team. They're a very good team. And I know a lot of people saw the game against Marshall and think, oh, maybe they're not that good. I can tell you right now that Ohio State did not give a crap about the game against Marshall. Are they going to give a crap about this one? It's a conference game, so they'll be up for it. Will they take their foot off the gas in the second half? Maybe. They used to all the time under Ryan Day. So we'll see. But, hey, give me Ohio State -24. I think they blow the doors off of Michigan State here. Let's talk about a couple more, though. This next one is one that everyone's going to want to talk about. Georgia traveling to Tuscaloosa to take on the Crimson Tide. Man, oh, man. So, looking at this game here, I like Georgia. I've looked at this game for so long. I've gone over this game a million times. And when I first looked at the game, I saw Bama getting +2. I said, oh man, I gotta back Bama. +2. And then I started looking more, and I'm just not sure. I'm not sure that Bama's there. Bama's a good team. I think that down the stretch, towards the end of the season, SEC championship, whatever, if they get to the SEC championship, they're a good team. I look at the teams they played. They dominated Wisconsin, which we all knew. Everybody knew that. Wisconsin's a bad team. We saw it early on. We knew they were going to dominate that game. Obviously, against USF, whatever, that's a team that just plays teams hard. We saw it for a little bit against Miami in the first half. It's just a team that kind of hangs around early. I look at Georgia, and they dominated Clemson. They played Kentucky in a very tight game. Kentucky had the perfect game plan for them. And that's something that I'm going to write off as Kentucky has done that like 3 or 4 years in a row now. If you look at those previous games, Kentucky just finds ways to bother Georgia. They just do. I don't know what it is. They have their number, whatever it may be, but they find ways to bother Georgia. As we come into this game, Georgia's defense is still the elite defense that we all know. Offensively, I don't love their skill position players, and that's really my hang up here, is I don't love the guys around Carson Beck. But ETN will be the first real test at running back for this Alabama team, in my opinion. Does he have a big day? Maybe. I'm not willing to say they shut him down, though. On the other side, Georgia obviously has already faced some pretty good running backs. They're going to have to face Jam Miller, Jalen Monroe. But this is a combination they're familiar with. They're familiar with Monroe from last year. You know, Kirby Smart, you know, out of a bye is like, I think, 8-1. DeBoer is 6-0 out of the bye. So this matchup is awesome. But I think the Bulldogs, you know, I've seen it a few times already on the Twitter sphere, you know, oh, Georgia barely beat Kentucky. Oh, you know, right around the time everybody starts doubting Georgia is when they kind of wake everybody up again, let you guys know, hey, we're still the best team. And we saw that week 1 against Clemson when everybody said, oh, 13.5 points, that's too many points. Okay, so now here we are again. You're going to give me +2 with Alabama at home at Tuscaloosa? They haven't won in Tuscaloosa since 2007? Okay, I'll back Kirby Smart. I'll back the Georgia Bulldogs. And plus, hey, you made Georgia number 2 this week. You put Texas ahead of them. You think Kirby Smart didn't realize that? Give me Georgia on the money line. The last one we'll talk about is formerly a Pac-12 after dark. This will be like a Big 12 after dark, I guess. Arizona traveling to Utah. Utah laying 11 points at home. If Cam Rising goes, Utah minus 11 could feed nations. We saw what Kansas State looked like against Arizona, and that defense isn't even that good. We saw what Arizona looked like against Kansas State, and that defense isn't even that good. Now you're going to go to Utah, play a Utah defense who, for whatever reason in that stadium, just gets like these crazy superpowers. They don't allow anything. So I like the under, regardless of if Rising plays or not. If Rising plays, Utah minus 11, take it to the bank, take it somewhere else. This team is going to dominate this Arizona team. McMillan can only do so much. The running game, very underwhelming since they lost Coleman to Washington. If Rising plays, Utah at home, they will dominate this game. Utah minus 11. That does include our week 5, though. I hope you guys have been making money with me. I've been having a ton of fun. I will get the college football prop sheets out probably the same day this video drops. And let's keep making a whole bunch of money. As always, I'm CrustyKs. You can get all my plays at goldboys.com. If you have a gambling problem, don't want to hurt a gambler. Thank you, guys.